So at this stage, we only have a few days left for the big exam. So I want to give you some suggestions on how to maximize your return on investment. Your investment is the time you are spending. The return is your ability to do well on the exam. So the question is how best to spend the last few days before your exam. In terms of revising concepts, I would suggest that the most logical thing to do is read through curriculum summaries. So you get used to the terminology in the curriculum, and it's generally the summaries are quite good, so you get on top of the major content. If you haven't done so already, I suggest you create a couple of formula sheets. And I am advising a two-tier strategy here. You will notice that there are some formulas that keep coming over and over. Formulas that you might also have seen at level 1. For example, calculating the free cash flow to firm, free cash flow to equity, and so on. So formulas that you really should know very well, and formulas that keep showing up on your practice questions. So all those should go on a tier 1 formula sheet. Then there are some other formulas that are part of the course but just might show up very occasionally. So have those on a tier 2 formula sheet. Ideally, you should know both, but make sure that you are completely on top of your tier 1 formula sheet. Now, there are lots of practice questions on the curriculum, past CFA mock exams, Schwezer mocks provided by other providers. By far the best questions are the curriculum questions. Now even there, I would categorize this as 2 tiers. Tier 1 is all the case studies and MCQs. So again, those must be done at least 2 or 3 times before the exam. You will notice that there are questions that you get wrong, and then you read the answer, understand the solution. 2 months later, you try the same question and you make the same mistake. So that's why I advise you to do these multiple times before the exam, because that same mistake should not be made on the exam. Tier 2 is the non-MCQ questions, which again are important, but we don't have much time left. So you might not be able to go do all of these. However, if you can make time, then at the very least read the solutions and try to understand how they have been solved. Then extremely important that you also try to do past CFA Institute mock exams. Most of the material has not changed over the years, so at least from 2009 onwards, try to do the mock exams. If you see something that looks completely unfamiliar, then just check whether it's in your course or not. If it's not in the course, then obviously let it go. But this is perhaps the best practice you can do. Now, tying this with the formula sheets, what I advise you to do is review your formula sheets before you take a practice exam. Resist the temptation to refer to the formula sheet during the exam, so you can see how well you actually retain this material. And then obviously after the exam, then you know what you are remembering, what you are not remembering. You probably know at this stage that the CFA Institute has already released the 2012 mock exam, which you can access from their website. Do that at least 1 week before the actual exam. And the reason I say at least 1 week before, because this is the best possible practice you will get, and a week gives you some time to respond to areas where you are not that strong. So give yourself a week. The people right here will do this exam at the center on Saturday, 8 days before the exam. So we'll do that from 10 a.m. to 1. From 1 to 2 we'll take a break, and then from 2 to 5 we will do the afternoon session, and you will get your graded sheets back that same day. Obviously those who are not over here should do everything possible to do the exam in an exam-like setting. CFA Institute also publishes sample exams, and while they come at a cost, but again, this is excellent practice, so if you can afford it, I would suggest you try to do these exams also. Schwezer mocks. Now, Schwezer or other prep providers, so if you have time, do their mock exams too, but that should come after you have done all the curriculum and CFA Institute questions. And finally, bottom line is these last few days, key is as much practice as possible. And as you practice, concepts automatically get revised. When you do something wrong in practice, you are more likely to remember that concept versus seeing a concept versus reading something. When you read something, retention is 5 to 10%. When you get something wrong on an exam type environment, then that retention is much better. So last few days, practice as much as possible and the revision will happen automatically.